here's Brody Brazil.
This is a video and a topic that I put a ton of thought into over the years and really over the decades, but at that same time, I've never really been able to openly discuss my opinions, my perspectives, my thoughts on this, and that's what I want to do kind of full scale here and now. And I'm not going to change history. This is all kind of unfortunately water under the bridge at this point. I'm also not really doing this to get it off my chest, more so to just document somebody who's been in this, around this, my thoughts and perspectives on if the A's had ever moved to San Jose, what that would have been like, and also what the present would be like if now the Oakland A's had become the San Jose A's for 10, 15, 20 plus years and beyond. This was very much a real consideration by the A's on kind of two separate occasions. Before they had talked seriously about Fremont, like 06 to 09, also right after that in the early 2010s. And both times they were essentially shut down from even having this be a possibility. It didn't stop the A's from making renderings and having conversations. They never really pushed San Jose, I feel like, as hard as they could. We'll get to more on that in just a second, but here were the visuals of Cisco Field. And again, not to be confused with the other Cisco Field project in Fremont that never got built. There was a sign that was put up that said, "This is the future home," but a different Cisco Field, right adjacent to downtown San Jose, right next to Highway 87, just north of 280. I think that's Eric Burns and his swing superimposed on that Jumbotron out there in right center field. You can see the skyline as it looked of downtown San Jose back in the 2000s. But yeah, this was the plan, to put this ballpark right next to downtown San Jose. And for a lot of reasons, I think this would have worked. I think we all realize we can establish that at the beginning. As we look at these renderings, I just kind of wanted to give you a taste and remind you of what was on tap here. This today would still be successful, and it would have been successful back when it was introduced and implemented. Look at the Adobe buildings off in the distance there. Those are the old Adobe buildings. Now there's new Adobe buildings. That San Jose skyline has changed, but you know what? The area surrounding this ballpark would have grown, would have been even bigger and better than it is now, and who knows what San Jose would have looked like? Who knows what the A's would look like if, in fact, this actually would have happened back in the day? And I know there's a lot of back and forth on the leaving Oakland part versus the going to San Jose part. We're about to get into all that, but I just, again, wanted to show you all these renderings, which maybe you haven't seen ever or in a long period of time. And this is kind of the layout. Here's downtown San Jose close to me on the screen. Here's 280 that runs kind of left to right on the screen. That's 87 that kind of runs, which way am I going? Up and down on the screen. You can see the tank off in the distance, kind of eye level up there, the ballpark right next to it, and then the airport kind of at the top left of the screen. It's kind of give you the lay of the land. A perfect spot for a major league ballpark, and really for San Jose to have an arena and a stadium right next to each other, it would have been great. But before I get into anything else, I also need you to understand who I am and where I'm coming from in all of this. Consider the source, because anybody who ever talks about the San Jose A's is going to have an opinion, is going to have some bias. Maybe you're somebody hardcore from Oakland and you never wanted the A's to leave Oakland. Even if it meant going to San Jose, that was a non-starter for you. That's kind of me to a certain degree, but I'm also somebody who spent a lot of time in San Jose. Let me just run down the list here. I was born and raised in the East Bay area, not specifically Oakland, but in the East Bay, in the suburbs surrounding Oakland. So that kind of makes sense, my perspective on the Oakland piece. My first job, though, and my 4 years of college, 4+ years of college, were in San Jose. I have spent a ton of time in Santa Clara County, Silicon Valley, the South Bay, city of San Jose, all those different geographies have been kind of a second home to me. So I also have that connection too. I've worked with, alongside, and now for the San Jose Sharks, yes, based in San Jose, for 16+ years. So again, the connections were in the past for me. They're also in the present for me. I should mention that first job was at KICU Television, Channel 36 in North San Jose, just south of Milpitas on the Great Mall. But I've followed and covered, well, I should say this past tense, I followed and I covered the A's for most of my adult life. It's sad to put it that way now, but that is the case. The point is, I feel like equally connected to both the South Bay and San Jose as I ever have to the East Bay and the A's as they existed in Oakland for so many years. So I just feel like if there's somebody who's cut out to talk about this, I kind of check all the boxes as somebody who understands the bigger picture. I don't necessarily have a hard bias in and for San Jose or in and for Oakland. I kind of see the bigger picture. So I just want to start with this. At the time, when this was being discussed in the 2000s and also in the 2010s, the A's potentially leaving Oakland for a brand new home and a brand new stadium at San Jose, at the time, leaving Oakland for San Jose kind of felt distasteful. Now, this was before there was any talk about the A's relocating outside the immediate Bay Area. So you have to understand that people were being a little bit stingy because they were very specific about wanting to keep the A's where they landed 50 plus years ago. Well, they ended up being there 57 years in Oakland, but it kind of seemed like a little bit of a sellout. If you were to leave Oakland to go to San Jose, where it was popular, it was booming in the 2000s, tech and all that stuff, software, Silicon Valley, it felt like, oh, you're just going where all the cool kids are going, and you're kind of leaving your literal roots in Oakland to kind of migrate somewhere else where it was popular. Now, again, that was the perspective at the time, and it still is how some people feel about the San Francisco 49ers. You're not in San Francisco anymore, and they kept the name San Francisco. I think that's the thing about the A's here. They would have been known as the San Jose A's. They never could have kept the name Oakland A's in San Jose, but it's how some feel about the 49ers, that they kind of sold out San Francisco to go to the South Bay, but look at how, to a large degree, they have thrived at Levi Stadium. I'm not saying the stadium or the whole atmosphere or the whole thing is perfect, and some will say Candlestick is better, was better from a fan experience and from an authentic experience. Maybe that's true, right? But I'm saying they survived, and they're doing okay at Levi Stadium. And I get it. We'll talk about the change of perspective over time, but back then, in the moment, it felt like, you know what? It would be like if somebody asked you as a baseball player, hey, you're a right-hander? Okay, throw with your left hand. You're still a baseball player, but man, this feels weird to be left-handed all of a sudden. I'm still a ball player, but it just doesn't feel right. That was kind of the feel about the San Jose A's and not the Oakland A's. It was also, though, I think realized as kind of a regional ripcord. What am I talking about here? If you're jumping out of an airplane and you got a parachute and your ripcord is what starts the parachute, it's what saves you from falling to the earth and striking the earth, then I think it was also realized that, hey, Oakland is having some issues here, and the A's have kind of danced around Oakland. They haven't found a location, and politics are difficult, and maybe San Jose would be more motivated to get this done. This felt like, hey, if you want to stay and if you want to be fast-tracked into getting this done and this being a permanent Bay Area home, I think a lot of people realized that San Jose could have been that ripcord for this baseball team. In reverse, though, so like now 20 plus years later, I think we all realize this would have been the move that saved the team regionally. Had they moved to San Jose either in the late 2000s or in the early or even mid-2010s, the A's would have entirely thrived in San Jose. There's no question about that for me. I look at the support of the Sharks, for example. That has always really been San Jose's team. I'll leave the Earthquakes separate from that for a lot of different reasons. You can probably figure that part out. But San Jose has always been, the Sharks have always really been, San Jose's team, born and bred there, actually played their first 2 years up the peninsula in the Cow Palace, but always named the Sharks, the San Jose Sharks, and always represented the region. And I feel like had the A's moved there, they would have easily been taken in, easily been adopted as the South Bay's team. But that's why the Giants fought so hard against this. Now, we'll talk about the Giants' perspectives on this, why they kind of had to try and block this, why baseball went with them. That's a little bit more unexplainable, but we'll also get to that later in the video. But look, the San Jose area, a large enough fan base, plus sponsors, plus an industry down there of tech. San Jose has a single-A minor league baseball team. Now, at the time, granted, the Bay Area for a lot of years, 57 years, had two major league teams. So I don't think you could have two major league teams and like a AAA team in San Jose. But I'm just saying here and now, with just the Giants in San Francisco, San Jose has never been a single-A minor league city. And I'm not here to throw shade or talk down on, the Bakersfields of the world and the Stocktons of the world. That's not it. But look at those cities and then look at San Jose and tell me that San Jose is a single-A minor league baseball town. It's a major league sports town and sports region. So big enough, bold enough, strong enough to support the A's. Like, no question about that. And if they had found their forever home in San Jose, they'd still be there here in 2025, no doubt about it. How the A's gave away that territory, literally infamous. A lot of people use the word, well, it's famously, how they famously gave it away. No, infamous means famous for a bad reason. So it's infamous. This was a gesture by the A's to give this territory to the Giants when they were exploring a move out of the state across the country to become the Tampa Bay Giants in the early 90s. And the A's ownership was so settled, and the A's had just won a bunch of World Series, they said, you know what, if you can't get something done in San Francisco, which was hard at the time, if you can't get anything done there, we will allow you to move to San Jose. It's farther away from us. Take San Jose. If you can go there to stay in the Bay Area, great. We won't have any problems with that. The problem is the A's never made that conditional, so that if the Giants didn't utilize that opportunity, which they did not utilize that opportunity, it didn't revert back to as it was, where San Jose was up for grabs, where it wasn't anybody's possession. Who knew that Major League Baseball teams could be real estate entities? Like territory? There's no other dual major league market like Chicago, Los Angeles, New York. There's no other market like that where there's territory. And by that, I mean literally if, from my understanding, and everybody I've talked to at the deepest levels of this, if the White Sox wanted to build a brand new stadium on the north side of Chicago, right across the street from Wrigley Field, they could do that. If the Angels wanted to build a ballpark, I guess you'd have to do it down the hill from Dodger Stadium or vice versa, whatever, they could do that. But for whatever reason, the Bay Area has these territories, these regions that are on and off limits for baseball teams to exist, as they used to in this dual market of the Bay Area. That will always feel wrong to me. And in the case of geography, like had the A's moved to San Jose, like the Coliseum and at that time, let's say Pac Bell, SBC, AT&T Park, now Oracle Park, 7 or 8 or 9 miles if you're a bird, as the crow flies, right? Not that far apart. Had the A's moved to San Jose, they'd be more like 40-something miles away, 50 miles away. They were going a multitude of miles farther away and exploring a totally different market, and then they would open up the market of Oakland. There would be some people in Berkeley, Richmond, El Cerrito, Walnut Creek, Lafayette who would say, you know what, I'm not driving all the way to San Jose to go see the A's if the Giants are right across the bridge. So the A's would have been sacrificing something in Oakland to get something else in San Jose. And we'll talk about this later too. Kind of would have felt like a bit of a fair trade. Now, I'm not saying everybody would be happy with that trade-off. I get it. A lot of you in Oakland would be saying, we're not willing to part ways with that. We don't want to give this up. I totally get it. I'm also here to say that I understand a lot of people would say, I'm not switching my allegiance. I'm upset that my team moved. I'm not going to see the other team. I totally understand that too. I'm just saying in the business of it, you're just kind of rearranging the furniture of a room. You're not taking a team away. You're not moving. You're not throwing a chair or a sofa or a table away out of the room. You're just rearranging the furniture, all right, in the room. That's probably the best analogy. But it's always going to feel wrong that this was a territorial thing that, like, even that the A's had it or nobody had it and the A's said you can have it and then it wasn't given back when the A's needed it. All that is always going to go down with a sour taste, for me at least. But if you're looking at the Giants' perspective, and I know a lot of people are going to blame them, and the Giants also voted yes on relocation of the A's to Las Vegas, but it was unanimous. Everybody did. I mean, you could point the finger at every single Major League Baseball team who didn't at least stand up and say, no, we don't think this is an okay thing to do. But as it relates to territory and the Giants and sponsorship and revenue and how the Giants were doing in the late 2000s, how the Giants were doing in the early 2010s, winning 3 World Series in a span of 5 years, what were the Giants supposed to do when they had the opportunity to hold on to one of their assets? And their asset would be the South Bay, would be San Jose as a fan base, as a region of corporate sponsorship, as a region of synergy. And look, if I'll tell you, I'm somebody who I understand the South Bay, spent a lot of time down there. Are there more Giants fans than A's fans like were there in the 2000s and 2010s? Yes, there were more Giants fans and still are, obviously, in San Jose and Santa Clara County. More Giants fans than A's fans, no question about that. But the point is that the Giants didn't want to give that up necessarily because why not shoot your shot? If somebody gave you a free coupon for a sandwich Aren't you going to try and use that free coupon? Even if it expired. If it expired 2 weeks ago, you have this coupon. Just see if they'll give you the free sandwich. And that's kind of what the Giants had to do in this situation. Look, San Jose changed dramatically from 93 when the territory was promised to the Giants to, let's say, 2013. By then, I think the A's were about to give up officially on San Jose. Like, the region grew and it boomed, and that's why the Giants were looking at this saying, in 93 it was fine, but by the 2000s and the 2010s, this is a booming area. How could we give this up? If we're given the opportunity to object, we're going to object. The Giants owed themselves that challenge. I'm just being honest about that. Even as somebody who wanted to see the A's stay, and would I have been okay with them going to San Jose? Sure, I would have gotten over it over time. If the option is drive an extra 25 minutes away from Oakland, 30 minutes away from Oakland, and keep the team in the region, and maybe even build the fan base and grow on the fan base, great. Versus what has now happened here in 2025 and beyond. So my perspective is that the Giants owed themselves just to try. But it is kind of amazing that Major League Baseball backed them up, unquestioned, on this. And also that the court system, like the legal system, this went to courts. And the courts backed up Major League Baseball in this claim. How that even went that far is amazing to me. How baseball couldn't step in, figure this out, negotiate it, give the Giants something, right? So, all right, so you know what? That free sandwich, let's go back to that. Your coupon expired. We're not going to give you the full free sandwich. How about this? We'll give you 80% off the sandwich. Right? They could have bargained. This didn't have to be a hard yes, a hard no situation. They could have figured something out for the Giants, and they didn't. So that's why when people say blame the Giants, you know what? The Giants just threw up the flag and said, we want to challenge this play. Baseball was the one that said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. We are going to go with you on this one. And they didn't even try to negotiate it or make it right. That location in San Jose, I know we've talked about this a little bit, it would have been absolutely electric. Adjacent to downtown, San Pedro Square and all that's become, and how downtown has built up, and right next to SAP Center, meaning that in San Jose, you'd have the tandem of hockey and baseball year-round for the South Bay. And it's kind of like what San Francisco now has with Oracle Park and Chase Center, just a short distance away, just south of downtown, right? So you would have had that synergy in San Jose, year-round events, the climate of the South Bay, the people, the weather, the synergy of the Sharks and the A's as neighbors. Could you imagine that? The support that they could have provided each other over the years. And I do think, honestly, and it's been different ownership groups over the years, different leadership groups of the Sharks, I have it in my heart that the Sharks would have worked gracefully with the A's and vice versa to have that synergy and to be partners and to really build up that South Bay sporting scene. And look, the Sharks are doing just fine in San Jose in terms of popularity and recognition and kind of owning the region. But I think, my point is, I think they would have opened the door to be teammates with somebody else. And it would have worked so well. There's no question about it for me that not only would this have worked, man, the takeaways caught me off guard. I forgot about my little stinger there. There's no question for me that all of this would have worked. That did scare me. But it's hard to look at this in reverse and see it any other way than we probably should. People around here probably should have been more for this than as against this. It was worth trying to keep them in Oakland. But if we're going on the theme of parallel paths, there should have been parallel paths in Oakland and San Jose all those years to try and get something done for the A's. They shouldn't have been pushing just Oakland for a while, then just Fremont for a while, then just San Jose for a while. Try your multiple paths and see what happens. So here are my takeaways with the stinger. Did Major League Baseball fail the A's, or did the A's not try hard enough? I think it's a tandem of both. I don't know how much the A's really fought back. They obviously did take this to court, but I do feel like Major League Baseball probably failed the A's more than anybody else in the situation. Major League Baseball basically shut the door. If they would have just said yes, it would have never gone to court, and they could have figured it out. As I said before, it didn't have to be a hard yes or hard no, can you go to San Jose? It could have been, yes, you can go to San Jose, and here, Giants, we're going to give you this out of the deal. We're going to step in, we're going to be the middleman, we're going to work this out for everybody. They didn't do that. Simple as that. San Jose is not a minor league, single A market. I'm sorry, I've said that before. Like, We all know this would have worked well. We all know that even now with the Giants being in San Francisco, there should probably be a double or a triple A baseball team in San Jose. I do believe that. I think Municipal Stadium is not built for a double or triple A team. And Muni's a great ballpark. And I love the San Jose Giants, and I'm not trying to get rid of the San Jose Giants. I'm just saying that if things realign over the years, I think San Jose should be open to a bigger and better opportunity, even than that. Maybe the San Jose Giants become a AAA team, although the River Cats exist. Anyway, you understand my point. They should have a higher level than single A in San Jose. The A's would have been moving farther away from the Giants. I'll never get over that. I get it. The market of San Jose from population and sponsorship and business opportunities, I get that. But it's crazy to think that the A's were trying to move farther away from the Giants, and the Giants blocked that. It'd be one thing if they were in San Jose trying to move to Oakland right across the bridge and they were going to take away some market share. They were trying to move tens of miles farther away, and it was able to be blocked. And look, in the end, this is my take. Had this happened, and I know this is important, this is central to a lot of people, Oakland would have been fine. If it really turned out to be that the Warriors went to San Francisco, the Raiders went to Las Vegas, and the A's went to San Jose, I get it. Oakland would still be in this place where they lost all of their teams. But losing one to San Francisco was kind of the inevitable, and the Warriors, when they came here, first off from Philadelphia, they landed at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. It's kind of going back to them. They've always kind of been a regional team. Yeah, for the A's in Oakland, it would have been hard for that team departing and being the last ones out the door, but only going, actually, they wouldn't have been, though. If you think about this, they would have been the first ones to leave, actually, before the Warriors or before the Raiders actually did. But going to San Jose just would have had a totally different feel. I get it. Oakland would still be looking in the mirror saying that they lost all their teams, but knowing that it's right down the road, knowing that it's still accessible, knowing that it was part of the history, that it was part of the legacy, and the team is still regionally located, and that if you are in Oakland, and if they ever do build that BART station that goes all the way to San Jose, it's still accessible to you. Guess what? San Jose didn't happen. And now if you live in the Bay Area, the A's are not accessible to you now, and probably won't ever be accessible to you ever again. So how could I not, in reverse, how could I not, and I've always felt this way, like I said, I could never really speak openly about this. Now I can. And I never had a really bad feeling about the San Jose A's. At first it was like, hey, you're going to have to win a lot of people over. And I get it. Some people will still say that they never wanted that to happen. It wasn't my preference, but I think we all would have been fine and okay with it. And actually, considering the circumstances now, look at the alternative. All right, that's all I have to say. That's the end of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm sure you've already said something down there below, but now's your chance. Also, thumbs up on this video down below. That'll greatly help me, the video, and the channel. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You know I'd love to see you back here next time.